So this video is how to solve quadratics using your calculator. So we're going to go over the TI-84 calculator, and then we're also going to use desmos to find the zeros. So what we're going to do is, just like the quadratic formula, these need to be set equal to 0. Whether you're using factoring or the quadratic, we have to set it equal to 0. So what that means is you just subtract everything to one side. It doesn't matter what side you use, it will give you the same answer. But you want to set this equal to 0. And then what this is going to give you is your quadratic. And then this right here is when y is equal to 0. So what we have here is you have the left side, which is your y1. And you have the right side, which is your 0. So we're calling this y1. And then this is y2. And then these are the zeros of your function. It's asking, when does your equation equal 0? So we're going to use the 0 function in the calculator. So we plug it in. It's x squared minus 2x minus 15. And when you do these, let's double check first. That is our correct equation. When you do this, you don't want to just hit graph. There's a zoom button that you want to use first. So the first is always zoom 6. And what that is our standard window. So it will graph it within our standard window. And then give us the two that you want. Now, if they don't fit in, then you want to hit zoom and 0. And what that will now do is fit our function. It'll take the highest point within that negative 10 and 10, and the lowest point within that negative 10 and 10, and give us our graph within there. So two keys that you always want to use, zoom 6 and zoom 0. So zoom 6 and then zoom 0. This doesn't always give you a perfect. Sometimes you still have to go back and change things. But what this will do is, oops, wrong one. This is our fit, or sorry, standard. It's your standard window. And then zoom 0 means fit. And so it'll fit our graph within that standard window, since that's what we chose. Okay, so what we need to do now is find our zeros. This right here and this point right here, these are our zeros of our function. So right here and right here. So we go into second and calculate, and you'll see number 2 says 0. And so if you notice, we now have 2 zeros on our calculator. So it's going to ask you for left bound. What that means is pick a number to the left of that first 0 that you want to find. And then it'll ask us for a right bound. So then we pick a number to the right of it. You don't want to pick a number to the left like, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5. And then we want to pick something like negative 1. Now, if you pick negative 5 and positive 10, it's going to get confused and it'll just say error. So you always want to make sure your left and your right only contain 1 0. So a number to the left, we can even just say negative 10, since we know that's our far window. And we know a number to the right is 0. And then the next one is guess. So you can enter negative 3, or you can just hit enter. And it'll give you your 0. So our first 0 is negative 3. And then we do it again. Second calc, number 2, and so something to the left of this one would be 0. And so it draws that line, and then something to the right now would be 10. So it draws our line. So we have 1, 0, one point where it crosses the x-axis. That's when our y is equal to 0. Between 0 and 10. So if I hit enter, it'll give me that one, which is 5. So we had negative 3 and 5, which you could already see that that was their 0. But you always want to guarantee it could have been negative 3.157 and negative 4.828. You don't know if it's exact or irrational here. So we have negative 3 and 5. So that is it. X is equal to negative 3 and 5. So that is our solution, negative 3 comma 5. For this equation. So if we were to plug negative 3 into this equation, it would come out to be 15. And if we plug 5, it would come out to 15. Now Desmos is a lot quicker, so let's look at Desmos. So I've already plugged it in. I've actually got all 3 equations that we're doing in here. So I've already plugged it in. And so with Desmos, all you have to do is click on the graph, and those dots will appear. So if you remember, we have our minimum down here. We have our y-intercept, and what we're looking for here is our x-intercept. There's 1, and there's 2, and that's it. So our zeros are -3 and 5. It's really that quick. So let's look at our next one. Since we've already used the graphing calculator, we now know how to find this. So I just want to look now at the different types. So the first one we got was 2 solutions. And the next one we're going to look at now is the x squared minus 2x minus 10. And so we have that same basic idea. So we're going to go back and look at desmos. But before we do that, we have to first set this equal to 0. So we need to bring that 10 over. And now we have it equal to 0. We can use desmos. So this is what our desmos graph gives us. Nothing. So if you remember the plus 10, that means we're going to shift this up 10. So we have the same graph here, but it was down 15. Now we're up 10. So logically speaking, we would think, oh, that's got to be up then. And there it is. See, it's been moved up. So remember, our zeros occur here along the x and y, along the x-axis. But our graph is way above, which that means is it's not crossing. So what that means is we have no real solutions. It has to cross the x-axis in order to get a real solution. So if it doesn't cross, no real solutions. And how do we know this is not coming back down? Because we know it's a parabola, and it's going to have that parabolic shape. It's not going to come back down and make an M. It makes that U shape. So this is why we wanted to know all of our parent functions. So we know our graph is going to look like this. So we know we can say no real solutions. Now later on we will look at their solutions from these. And this is why we have to solve this by hand. These are actually imaginary solutions. So we will use quadratic formula to get imaginary solutions. All right, we got one more left. So x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 0. And just because that's plus 25 doesn't mean it's way up there. And just like a minus would be way below, we still have to look at it. So if we have already graphed it, it's x squared minus 10x plus 25. And you can see, if I click on it, oh, it gives us a little dot. What that means is we have one solution. So what I'm giving you is all 3 types. They could either go through the graph and cross at 2 points, or it could not touch it can go through the x-axis and touch at 2 points, or it could be above the x-axis or even below the x-axis. So we could have this, or it could touch at 2 points. Or it could have this case where we have 1. So to show work, we draw our little picture, and we know it comes down and touches at 1 point. And so we know our answer here is x equals 5. And so our solution set would just be 1 number in there. So those are the way we're going to get it. You're going to get 2 answers, and how do you know? It's a square. So parabolas are going to give you 2 answers, or no answers, or 1 solution. And again, these no just mean they're not real. They're going to be imaginary. All right, so let me have you try one. And do you even have to distribute this? No, you don't. You just have to set it equal to 0. So I want you to set it equal to 0, plug it in Desmos or a calculator, and find the answer. I want you to hit pause now and try it. So this is the answer you should have gotten, and I distributed it more. You just have to plug this in. So you can see with Desmos, I didn't even simplify it. I just plugged it in exactly how it looked, and I got -3 and 9. And you can see it's the same graph. There is that one, and there is that one. They're both the same. So it doesn't matter which one you plug in. You're going to get 3 and 9. And then this one's factorable, or you could use quadratic formula to get it as well. But use the calculator to verify your answers. Thank you.